sure you guys would have been up and down through the aisles, jumping up and down, shouting. You couldn't even hold it down. But because of Jesus, we have a reason to give him praise. Not even because of what he has done, but what he did not allow to happen to us. See, sometimes I would sit down in my seat and be like, oh God, if you were like, man, I don't even think I would be here. And I'm sure if you think the same thing, you'll be like, God, that's true, you know. If you were like men, if you would treat me the way men would treat me, I would not be here. But because God is God, and he's who he is, and because of his grace and his mercy and his love, we are still yet today have another opportunity and a chance to give him praise. And so put those hands together and bless God in this place. So, I'm not going to do it for very long. I know a lot of preachers say that, but I'm honest. Serious topics. Give me like 7 minutes and I should be down. Amen? Amen. So, very quickly, Psalms 100. It says, make a joyful noise unto the Lord, all ye lands. Serve the Lord with gladness. Come before his presence with singing. Know ye that the Lord, he is God. He is he that hath made us, and not yourselves. We are his people and the sheep of his pastures. Enter into his gates with thanksgiving and into his courts with praise. Be thankful unto him and bless his name. For the Lord is good. His mercy is everlasting and his truth endureth to all generation. Now what I want to focus on is the first verse, which says, make a joyful noise unto the Lord, all ye lands. And so I begin to normally when I'm studying, I normally ask God some questions. She's like, oh, why does your word say this? And so, if I were to choose a topic, my topic would be, everyone has a slot for a joy card. Everyone has a slot for a joy card. And unless you fill that joy card with Jesus, with God, you will not feel fulfilled. You will not be fulfilled. And so, I began to ask God, I was like, God, what are you trying to say here? What are you trying to say here? And so, I don't want you to mix up joy. I'm going to be talking about joy since it's joy. I don't want you to mix up joy and happiness because it's very easy to mix up the two of them. And so, joy is a source of delight. Joy is a source of delight. I'm a person that loves to look up the meaning of words, so excuse me while I give you the definition. I'm sure you know the definition. So, joy is a source of delight. Joy is a source of delight. And joy is a source of delight. So a source is a point from which something springs into being. So a source is something where something springs into being. It just springs into being. So happiness, well, happiness on the other side is a state. Happiness is an emotional state of being as regards to a circumstance. For example, with physics, water and ice, ice is a state that water goes, that water can be in based on the environments. Maybe the water, if the conditions are just right, the molecules will begin to change, and then they become, then the water becomes ice, based on the environment, based on the condition. With other conditions, without the environment, the water will remain water. It will not turn into ice. And so, the difference between joy and happiness is that, I'm saying to myself, I'm like, God, so since joy, it's like a source of delight, that means that we can pull from this source whenever we need it. But happiness, on the other hand, we have to wait for something to happen around us in order for us to be happy. So when it comes to God, he is the source of our joy. And so it doesn't matter what you are going through, as long as you can tap into the source, then you will be able to experience true joy. I feel my help, can I take my time? And so the source, joy is a source of delight. Joy is a source of delight. And so, one may ask, if something has already sprung into existence, if joy is already existing, if the source of delight is already there, then there's really no need to create a joyful noise. That's what one may ask. But one of the many definitions of make, one of the main definitions is to form in the mind. To form in the mind. That's one of the definitions of make. And in order for you to form something in your mind, you must first acknowledge it. So I need you to say, in order for you to form a thought in your mind, say it. In order for you to thought in your mind, you must first acknowledge it. Yes, and so we are acknowledging that there is indeed a source. There's indeed a source of joy. And this joy is none other than Jesus. This joy is none other than God. This joy is none other than the Holy Spirit. You're quiet here. This joy is none other than Jehovah Jireh. This joy is none other than Jehovah Nissi. This joy is Jesus. And as long as you can tap into the joy, then you can really experience true joy. And so Jesus is a source, our joy source, and a source that never runs dry, a source who will supply all our needs according to His riches and glory, a source who remains the same, who's the same yesterday, and it's the same today, and it's the same forevermore. We're talking about the same. You're quiet in there, you're quiet, because whenever you talk about Jesus, something is just moving your spirit, it just causes you to just don't act sensible. Back home, we try our best to control ourselves in service, but sometimes just when the preacher said Jesus, it just changed the atmosphere of the service. I was talking to one of my friends today, and I said one of the things that's in my head right now from the service that I went to yesterday was a pastor. She said, a grandmother said, who wouldn't serve a God like ours? And so yesterday and talking about joy this morning, it really makes sense. You know, who wouldn't serve a God like us? A God who is faithful, a God who is loyal, a God who is just, a God who is just, a God. And so the source of our joy is Jesus. The source of our joy is Jesus. And so He's ready to give you joy. Jesus is always ready to give you joy since He's the source, and the source is always ready and available. It's just up to you to tap into that source. And so this joy that Jesus offers, it does not depend, that He always offers you, it does not depend on your past. This joy that Jesus offers does not change like the weather or with the weather. This joy that Jesus offers you does not change with your cycle of friends whenever you get new friends. You're quiet in here. This joy that you have does not change based off of your pocketbook or your finances. The joy that Jesus offers does not change with the economy. You're quiet in here. The joy that Jesus offers does not change based on your emotions. Just because you're upset doesn't mean that God's power is unaffected. Just because everybody's hating on you doesn't mean that God's joy is not available. You're quiet. Just because you're upset, just because you're going through trials and tribulation doesn't mean that you can't smile at the storm. My grandmother used to say, if Christ is in the vessel, I can smile at the storm. Because I know that if Jesus is on my side, it doesn't matter what my situation may look like. I'm done. It doesn't matter what your situation might look like. As long as Jesus is in the vessel, I can smile at the storm. Put those hands together. Opportunity to tap into the source of love, the opportunity to tap into the source of greatness. Hallelujah. Glory be to God. You're quiet in here. I don't even know if you should say God. You're quiet.